You just press play on the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the Huntroversy. We're here to entertain, educate, and engage. And in case you didn't know, you only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough. Don't waste it. Welcome to episode number 57 of the Last Breath Huntcast. I am Grant, and I am all alone today, actually. I'm going to be calling my special guest, who is Cam Derefield today, and I don't want to spoil any of the introductions or any of the things that are really neat about Cam. I kind of found Cam through a couple mutual friends that host a podcast, and since then I've been following him very intently, and there's some really unique things about Cam that I think that we're going to get to the bottom of today that are going to be absolutely awesome. So that's our guest, and happy Labor Day, everybody, by the way. Everybody out there enjoying your weekend, I hope you are, and that it was a nice 3-day weekend and you got a little bit of extra time to rest up and do some more whitetaily things before the season approaches. I know lots of the listeners are either in season or it's coming up within the next 3 or 4 weeks, at least for us in Illinois and Iowa. So I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. But our topic for today and for Cam is going to be the mental game of hunting whitetails with a recurve bow and arrow setup. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get him on the line here, and we're going to go ahead and jump into our conversation. I'm guessing 3 rings. Volume sounds pretty good.
What's up, brother?
Hey, Cam, how you doing? Can you hear me, buddy?
Yep.
Awesome. So I kind of already told the listeners a little bit that your name was Cam Derefield, and I didn't want to spoil anything else. But go ahead and jump right into it, man. Tell the listeners who you are and what you do for a living, which is really freaking cool in my opinion.
I pretty much am a guy who just chases deer every day of his life, which sounds cool, but it can be very, very stressful when it tends to be your job. Just like today. Right when you text me like, hey, are you still down for a podcast? I'm out in the woods and my shock broke.
Oh, no.
So, ups and downs of that. But, outside of that, man, I pretty much guide hunts. I get to chase deer every single day.
And where at are you chasing deer? I know, but for the listeners that don't know, and maybe talk about Wicked Obsession and what that is.
Yeah, so KY is where we do a lot of our hunts, and basically we're just I kind of grew up down here like every single weekend, so this part of the state like really means a lot to me. And we are on the eastern side of the state, so pretty much just I have at least a lot of land, but I don't run all that many clients. I run about 40 to 50 hunts, and I try to keep it low because I'm trying to kill that upper class deer, Most guys on the amount of land that I have would be running, anywhere from 250 to probably 300 hunts. So I try to keep numbers down, and basically just try to grow the biggest deer I can around here. And this is my second year doing it, and already, I mean, we've seen farms just completely change. But yeah, man, it's definitely been a blast. Last December, I quit my regular job and just started doing it full time, and just pretty much have devoted every single day to it. So I don't actually live here. I live about 2 hours north. So I think I've been home like 10 days in the last three months.
Oh my gosh. But you're just running down the dream and running your outfitting business. So talk about that a little bit. What I guess gave you the idea to go, I guess, for quality over quantity? Because like you said, you could, with all the land that you lease, you could probably go down there and run a couple hundred clients. And I mean, for all intensive purposes, for a couple years, you could be making a lot more money. But what gave you the idea to kind of push for the quality over quantity type of approach to your outfitting business, Cam?
I mean, I just care about deer a lot. I mean,
sure.
that's the first thing, but it's just, I don't know. I see a lot of outfitters come into places and just completely ruin it. And it's you can do that very, very easily. So I've just always, it's been my dream since I was a kid to actually do what I'm doing now. So I've just studied it, and I realized, that if you can run less hunts, and maybe charge a little bit more, which still, I mean, I'm way cheaper than what most guys are.
Sure.
But just basically, you got to keep your overhead down, and just to where you can run a lot, not as many hunts, and you can. Basically, you got to be a good businessman also when it comes to it, because you can't have a lot of overhead if you're going to run less hunts. But you got to pick out the prime properties and properties that you think are going to have the most bucks on it. Like, I got one 1,500 acre piece that has 18 shooters on it. I got another 1,500 acre piece that literally has one single shooter.
Whoa. What's the reason behind that, do you think?
And it's just, I don't know. It's just area and they're probably, the way the crow flies, I would say maybe a mile away.
That is weird.
And the land's not much different. The only thing the one property has is a lot more CRP, but it's not like, I don't know. It's not like a drastic difference. But I mean, it's just area, I think. Maybe neighbors around the one property just shoot everything, or there's a lot of things. Now, I just got that farm this year, so maybe in November and October it's going to have 15 or 16 shooters on.
Sure. Fair point.
As of right now, it does.
All right. Well, that kind of gets you a little bit into Wicked Obsession a little bit. And I mean, the deer that you're posting daily on your Facebook and the Wicked Obsession page are giants. You are finding big deer, and you're going to, I mean, if I was a client of yours going down to hunt at Wicked Obsession Outfitters, I feel like I would be so jacked right now just because of the velvet slobs that you have on trail camera. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit. So last year, the season of 2019 would have been your first year outfitting, correct?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And what percentage do you think, I mean, of the deer, I'm always interested in knowing, and Garrett too, because we don't seem to, all the deer that we get in velvet, we kind of call it the velvet curse, because we don't ever get a chance to hunt them because they kind of disperse and break away from that property. But what percentage of bucks do you think your clients got a crack at last year, or you yourself, that you got a picture of velvet in?
A lot, actually. But that's kind of not fair, because I lease a lot of farms, and they all kind of touch, or they're somewhat close. So, I mean, I do have deer move like a mile or two.
But they'll just go on to another one of your properties, right?
Right. But I mean,
perfect.
But the amount of deer that stay in that area from velvet until then, it's not crazy to say, probably 60 to 70%.
Wow. That's a pretty high number. I was honestly guessing you were going to say lower than that. What's the reasoning for that? Just the large tracts of land that you're hunting are so big and so adjacent to one another that they don't ever leave, or do they just have an immense amount of cover? Do you got a lot of food, or is there anything about the land itself that you're leasing that makes it like super special?
No, I mean, and they'll definitely venture out. I mean, I'll get pictures of them, a mile away, or half a mile away, but at least one time a week they'll be in the same areas that I had them on, or had them when they were in so they don't really stray away too far. Of course their patterns change a little bit, but it's not like, I mean, they're still on the same farms basically.
Yeah. Okay. I found you, I guess, and kind of the way most people find one another is like through a mutual friend. So I listened to you on a podcast, and I've then started following you on Facebook, and that's the reason I wanted to talk to you today, is because as a Facebook user, I watch a lot of like viral videos and stuff on Facebook. Those are kind of like my thing to watch. And if there are anybody listening right now, you should definitely follow Cam, because daily you are posting some of the craziest shit. The time that I was like, yep, I'm following this dude and seeing what he's doing every single day, was the day that you had your tire swing out, and you wound the rope up, and then you let it go and free swing, and you were shooting your recurve through it at like 20 yards and just drilling and having a great group at like 20 yards with a recurve. There's hardly any people that do that anyway. and to be that accurate with it to the point where you're doing trick shots and shit with it was insane. And I was like, yep, I'm following this guy. And then I looked at your Facebook and everything, and I was like, whoa, this dude's got an outfitting business, and holy shit, he finds some giant deer. And so I guess the main topic of conversation that I wanted to have today was, what made you jump into hunting with a recurve? Did you start with a gun like most people do? Did you jump from compound to recurve, or what did that whole transition look like for you, Cam?
So I've shot compound since I was 4 years old. And I've shot a lot of good deer with it, with the compound, but there was a time when I was like 16, 17, and I wasn't full trad, but I shot trad. And I shot every single day. And then I kind of like, I don't know, I guess I was kind of scared to just do it, you know? And the deer I was chasing last year, I told everybody, I was like, if I shoot him with my bow, I'm definitely going trad. And it kind of started in October because my cousin gave me my dad's old bow. And it's a 1974 Grizzly. And I started shooting it again, and I'm like, man, you know, it just started. I started to have fun again, you know. Shooting a compound kind of got a little boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I killed my 3 biggest bow bucks in the last 4 years, and I don't know. I just want a challenge, you know. And once I started doing it, man, it kind of. I didn't really have a choice. It just kind of drove me to do it, you know?
Sure. So, last year when you were hunting and, you know, you killed 2 giant deer last year, were either of those taken with the recurve, or did you shoot both of those with your compound?
No, so I shot a deer in Kentucky. He wasn't real big, but I shot him with a compound, and then I shot my main target buck back home with a compound. And the year before that, I shot my 190 with a shotgun. But I literally quit my job and bow hunted him for 60 days straight.
Jeez.
And it was 230 hours I was chasing him. And by gun season, the farmers knew about him, the neighbors knew about him, and everybody was like planning to do like drives and everything. And I'm like, oh, geez. So I just took a shotgun out, and on the 3rd day of gun season, I shot him. But.
Well, hey, at least you get to look at them every day on your wall, you know?
Yeah, you know, and that was kind of the moment, like, a lot of people gave me shit for that, and I'm just like, you know what, like, who cares? Like, when you're 80 years old and you're looking at your wall, nobody's going to be like, oh, well, you shot that one with the gun and that one with the bow, like, no, you know?
Yeah, good point. That's the kind of the way that we feel as well. It's like, if it's illegal and, you know, you're taking the deer ethically, then I don't really have a problem with it. Yeah, I would rather shoot every deer that I shoot with a bow.
Yeah.
But if there's a nice deer out there with a gun, I'm going to pull the trigger, and I'm not going to feel bad about it for a second. So,
No.
So you jumped into recurve for like more of the mental aspect of it. And like I said, all your videos, you were just shooting great groups with your recurve. So I guess mentally, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Mentally, you're posting on social media and things like that, and you just have this attitude that I feel like you're a person that is never going to say die. You know, I feel like you've got a great attitude, and I feel like that's one of the things that we need to talk about is I feel like whitetail hunting is a mental game. You know, much more than almost any other hobby, sport, passion, lifestyle that you could have. And I feel like lots of times on the internet, at least, people see like a deer nut. You know, they'll see a person like you and think, well, that guy wouldn't last a second out in Utah or in Colorado or wherever. You know, it's typically like a Western guy ragging on a Midwestern guy. But I do feel like, yeah, there's no question. Physically, out west, it's harder. You're going to have to walk up mountains, and you do have to be in good shape to do that and to chase elk and muleys and antelope and stuff like that. But for whitetails, when you're hunting them for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 days of the year in temperatures ranging from 95 degrees down to negative 25 degrees, you got to be mentally tough. And I think that you are a person that I would consider to be highly mentally tough. So what mentality are you using like right now? Like, what are you thinking about right now at this very moment? I guess not necessarily in terms of whitetail, but your mindset for the season.
Just don't get too worked up and just kind of have fun with it, because with trad, I mean, the moment you think about your shot is the moment that you're gonna mess it up. So
sure.
Just you know, I'm coming right out of the gates. Season opens up for me in 2 days. So
jealous, man.
I got I got 10 people to put on deer, but Saturday evening I'm going after my first my first deer with a trad bow. So we'll see. He's about, I don't know, he's about 150-inch deer, and I've got him down. But as far as that goes, like, just every time I shoot, I kind of just visualize the shot, like as if it's like the shot. Like, I'll even go to the point of, like, I act like I'm fully adjusting my camera and like everything. Like, you know, like I just fully prepare myself for whatever. And because I feel like in that moment, you know, so I'm going to attempt to shoot him off the ground with no blind, just a ghillie suit, and he's going to be like 12 or 13 yards.
My God, I hope you were taking a GoPro or some video cameras with you, because, dude, I would love to see that. If you make that happen, holy hell, that would be awesome.
I'm going to have my buddy, my buddy Kyle's going to be in a tree up behind, up, kind of like to my left, and he's going to be in a saddle, and he's going to film the whole thing. So you'll be able to see, like, the deer walk in, and I'll be in frame, and I'll be running a camera basically where I'm at, but it's going to show me and everything. And hopefully, if everything works out, the deer walks in, and right on camera, you get to see my arrow just kind of rip through.
Gosh, that is going to be awesome, dude. I hope you get him. Do you have a name for that buck?
Yeah, Titus is his name.
That's what I thought. I get kind of confused in all the pictures that you post. I thought it was Titus, but I was unsure. So getting to, like, when you're practicing with your traditional equipment, let's get to the bow itself. What kind of bow is it? How many pounds is it? Would you estimate at your peak draw weight? What kind of broadheads are you going to be shooting out of it? And yeah, let's go ahead and start there. So bow and broadheads, what do you got, Cam?
I'm shooting a Martin Hunter. It's a 55-pound bow. It's 62 inches. I'm shooting a old school Easton 2115 aluminum arrow, and shooting iron wheel 150 grain broadheads.
Those iron wheel broadheads have been really catching on in the last, like, couple years, I feel like. My brother-in-law, Robbie, and Garrett's brother-in-law, too, he just shot, or is going to start to shoot those this year, and they're pretty penny, but, man, they look mean. Have you had pretty good grouping results with those broadheads, Cam?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to have to – that's the thing about a trad bow is the field tips shoot good, but I think I'm going to have to adjust my nocking point just for those.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm working with now. It's not real bad, but if I take a 25-yard shot, I'll be able to tell a pretty big difference, which I'm comfortable out to 30 right now.
So do you feel like if a deer was at 30 that you wanted to kill, you could make it happen? You could center punch him?
Yeah, I mean, if everything was right and I kept my mind clear and didn't get too worked up, and which I've been working on that, you know. Now, the fact that I've chased pretty big deer for the last 5-6 years of my life definitely makes me a little bit more calm. I'm just kind of more comfortable with it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, so that aspect of it, of getting worked up I don't really get worked up when they walk in, but the moment that arrow leaves, I just fall to pieces. So I'm pretty stone cold when it comes to that. I just got to keep my mind, you know, completely clear. I got to stay focused, and pretty much, like when you're shooting trad like that, it's hard to explain the shot, but it's almost like you get this like pure tunnel vision, and it just happens, and you just literally just grip and rip. I mean, and it just happens, you know.
Sure. Yeah, I was wanting to walk through that just because I feel like lots of the listeners can relate to that. It's like lots of people that have been chasing, big whitetails for a long time. You know, they'll get a little bit less worked up than others, but I feel like for most people, after that arrow leaves or after that bullet flies, man, it's fallen to pieces just because you know how hard you worked and you're so grateful for the opportunity and you're just in like sure disbelief that it just happened and you just, accomplish your goal. So I think people can totally relate to that. But let's back up to when you're physically like drawing the bow. Like, so Titus is walking in at 15 yards and you can see him. I myself, I try to wait till the deer is like fully head looking away from me if I can get away with it to draw my bow. But I guess with a recurve, how does that process change for you, Cam? Are you waiting for that deer to also look away, or just with how fast you can draw, point, and shoot, just being like as an instinctive as you are, just with your videos, I mean, it looks like you're super instinctive, which I'm sure comes with, like you said, years of practice. But what are you waiting on the deer to do in terms of the way he's looking, facing? Would you be comfortable taking a frontal shot, anything like that?
So I definitely pay attention to what he's doing. I mean, you can pretty much, even a calm deer, when you're shooting trad, it's probably going to drop a little bit.
Sure.
But that being said, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, just make sure he can't see you. The way that he's been coming in to the spot, he's going to kind of come in at an angle, so he's going to be quartering kind of away from me. So, which would be perfect because if he comes in and puts his head down, I don't draw fast. Not when I'm hunting. Not when there's times when I'll post videos where I shoot, at a decent rate of speed. But
sure.
But when I'm hunting, it's real slow. I bring it back. I find but now my anchor point, I really don't have to think about it. It just kind of happens. So, because I sold my compounds back in January. I shot my buck on January 3rd, and by the end of January, I didn't own a single compound.
Gee, so you just dumped them and went full send into the traditional game, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do something, you might as well do it. You can't leave that option on the table. Like once you say it's a week before season, you start getting jitters, and you're like, oh, I'll just take the compound now. Like when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to go out and do it.
That's awesome.
And now, honestly, I don't think. I mean, don't hold me to it, but as the way I feel right now at this moment, I don't care if I ever shoot a compound again.
Whoa. Well, I mean, with the accuracy that you're shooting with, I mean, I would have the confidence, and I think that that was something you touched on earlier. You've been, shooting bow since you've been 4 years old, and you've been just hammering the traditional every single day. And I think on my best weeks of practice during the summer, I'll shoot every single day, but usually when the school year starts, I'll shoot about 4 or 5 days per week. And with that practice that you're putting in, that gives you an immense amount of confidence. And the best deer hunters I know, one of them's my friend Matt, and I feel like it's not necessarily that Matt is the greatest shot in the world or anything like that, but I will say that Matt's the most confident, and when Matt engages the kill switch, shit tends to die around him. And I think that's probably the same for you. You're so dialed in and you're so confident in your setup that when you're pulling your bow back, you're like, yep, this thing's about to die and I'm going to put it right where it needs to go. And that's the way he is. Is that kind of your mindset as well?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I believe that if you truly do everything you can to put yourself in the right position, and that's going as far as even with each shot, really thinking about each shot and picturing that moment on each shot, or, working from January until August and really narrowing down a buck, or, whatever it comes to, if you set your mind to it and do everything that you can possibly do to make it happen, it's going to happen, So, and that's kind of the way that I've always looked at everything. So when I decided to sell the compounds, everybody's like, oh, well, I guarantee you just gave up shooting any big old bucks this year. And I'm like, why? Like, the moment you look at it as a handicap, then it becomes one.
I like that. I would agree with that. Yeah, it's like the old mindset, once you think you're defeated, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, that's just not who I am as a person. So
That's awesome. I'm glad we got that out of the way. I was curious for this too, Cam. With the speed of your arrow and everything like that, it's obviously slower than a compound bow can shoot. If there's a deer at 20 yards, which would be, for a recurve, that's a pretty good poke. What would you equate that with a compound? Do you think like a 20 yard shot with a recurve is about like a 35, 40 yard shot with a compound, or what do you feel like that distance equates to?
I mean, I don't know. I can't really say because, I mean, for me, honestly, up until like, I didn't start really getting real confident in my shot until about a month ago. And that's honestly when I switched from, I had that Hoyt and I just was kind of dealing with it. But I really didn't like it.
Right.
And so I got, but I had 4 all wood bows this summer and snapped every single one of them. So I got that Hoyt and it had a little bit of like limb creep to it. So I never really liked it. But once I switched back to a all wood bow that actually fit me and I actually got my knock point right and got an arrow set up, like that's when I started to get super, super confident. And from there, just build confidence. I don't shoot at any 2D targets. I shoot at all 3D targets, basically.
Sure.
So, I mean, and the targets I'm shooting at is like those shooter buck targets, so they're a lot smaller than what a 4 or 5 year old buck is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But that being said, I mean, for me, honestly, 30. You take a 25 yard trad shot. I don't think it's any different than taking a 25 yard compound shot. I mean, as long as you're confident and I mean, not everybody can pick up a compound bow and touch arrows at 25 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Not everybody can pick up a trad bow and touch arrows at 25 yards. But I know guys who can touch arrows with compounds and with trad bows at 25 yards. So to me, from my point of view, it's no different. You just have to prepare yourself and be confident. So I don't know. I mean, to me, no compound shot's hard within 75 yards. I mean,
yeah.
With modern bows, I mean, there's dudes shooting what? Like I saw T-Bone on YouTube the other day shooting like 300 yards.
Jeez.
So and that's like, it's bad now. Everybody's shooting their single pins at 70 yards and blah blah. But like, I would never shoot at a deer at 70 yards. So to me, it doesn't really.
Yeah, that's another, I guess, topic all in of itself with just ethics and things. That I guess the way I feel, you take the best shots in the world, or at least the ones that are visible on digital media. And I'm thinking of like, Cam Haynes can shoot the hell out of a bow, Josh Bomar can shoot the hell out of a bow, and Levi obviously can shoot the hell out of a bow. But I wonder if you went and asked those guys, there's an animal at 85 yards. Are they, like a whitetail that's a little cagey, that could drop or move, etc., that won't just sit there and take the arrow, or just any animal that's on alert. It could be an elk or anything. What their mindset is behind that when they touch the trigger off and everything like that. Because I think, I don't know if you follow Matthews on YouTube or anything, but they do this awesome series called Proving Ground every year. And I think last year Levi Morgan shot a Dall sheep or something like that at, I believe it was like 108 or 110 yards. And that's farther than I've ever shot. I've plinked a couple arrows at 100 out of my single pin, out of my bow. But like you said, I would never consider shooting at an animal that far, but he smoked it and it went right down. So I guess
and again, that's his confidence,
Yeah.
There's guys I know with trad bows that would take 55 yard shots. But I'll say this. They're capable of making 55 yard shots.
Sure.
So will they take it? Probably not, because it kind of defeats the purpose of being a trad guy at that point.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I guess the goal of being a trad guy is just the closeness, those close encounters.
Yeah. I mean, it's just there's something about being in the woods, and literally the only thing that stands between you and a deer is a stick and string. You know, and
yeah,
there's no sights. There's no when you don't pull up and look through your peep and have your nose buttoned and get all comfortable, and it's the most uncomfortable situation you can ever think of. But that's what makes it what it is basically.
Yeah, that's what probably draws you and people like you to the challenge, you know, and getting that mano-a-mano experience, kind of one-on-one with the whitetail in his own element, usually off the ground. That's awesome. And I wanted to ask you one other question in terms of the vitals, right? When you're picking apart a deer's vitals, and let's say it's a typical broadside shot, where are you going to be holding at? Are you expecting a duck? Or are you just going to put it on the heart, and if he does drop, you'll hit him in the middle of the lung or higher in the lung? Like, what's your mindset in terms of the drop factor with a whitetail?
I've kind of trained myself to shoot for that bottom third. I'm shooting 5-inch feathers, so they're not really the quietest thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
the bow's quiet. I mean, I'm confident in the setup, but I feel like with any trad deer, you kind of got to expect at least a little bit of drop. So even if he doesn't drop, that bottom third, you're still killing him. But chances are he's going to at least, flinch.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and then and I'll read the whole, and say he's at 10 yards broadside. I mean, obviously I'll just I'll follow that crease down and about 1 inch back and just shoot,
Yeah.
But anything past 15 yards, hell, 13, 14, 15 yards, anything past that, I'm going to expect a little bit of a drop.
Sure. I can understand that, I think that's you being smart and being ethical and more or less being realistic about the expectations of, some of the limiting factors that comes with the trad bow, just being, a little slower. And like you said, I didn't even think about that till you said it, but those fletching. So let's touch on that really quick. Do you think, compared to the old vanes that you used to shoot out of your compound bow, do you think that those 5-inch vanes that you have now on your traditional equipment are substantially louder?
Yeah, they're 5-inch shields. Now you can get 5-inch like parabolic ones, and they're not as loud. But I don't know. I just kind of like the old shields. And here's the thing: I didn't really get into trad to be, top of the line of everything. I did it to just get back to falling in love with hunting again. I got a whole closet full of Sitka and Badlands and stuff like that, and I have my Ozonics bag right here right now, and every bit of hunt clothes that's in this bag is from the 1980s. So
yeah,
I'm just enjoying the experience, man. Enjoying going trad, just getting away. I've been that guy who's been trying to film my hunts and get and I was on pro staffs also, but like none of that means anything to me. I just enjoy hunting.
Yeah, just stripping it down to what makes you enjoy it. It
takes me back to being a kid, man. It's not like I'm not that kind. I work my ass off to kill every deer that I kill, so I'm not that type of guy to be like, oh, I couldn't have done it without my so and so tree stand, or like come on, man, like that's just not me.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
There's this thing in the industry right now where you feel like you got to go spend all this money and wear Sitka gear and shoot a Matthews bow and rock a certain tree stand and blah blah blah, and like I just want to show kids you can go to the thrift store and buy your grandpa's camo and take a trad bow out and shoot 150s all day.
That's awesome. That's one of my favorite videos online, I think, that the hunting public has ever made. I don't know if you've ever watched it or not, but they did a video once, and it was them going to Walmart. And they spent like $400 or $500 at Walmart, and they bought a bunch of camo. They bought a bow, broadheads, arrows, literally everything somebody needs, a tree stand to hunt from Walmart. And they proved like, hey, you don't have to have a bunch of expensive stuff to go hunting and to enjoy hunting, and more importantly, to be successful at hunting. And I totally agree with you on that. I do feel like that's what a lot of people see, and kind of tucking back into that confidence thing that we've been, commonly talking about today. That seems to be the thread that we're kind of on here. That confidence. If there are people out there listening, I think Sitka makes probably great stuff. I've been to their booth a couple times at ATA, and all those gear advancements that we've been seeing, and over the course of the life of you and I mean, between 2000 and 2020, think about the gear advancements that have happened in the last 20 years. It's incredible. And if a guy wants more confidence to use that gear, then more power to him. But I totally like what you said there. It's not necessary. That's definitely for sure.
Let me be clear about that. Like, Sitka gear is probably the most comfortable camouflage I've ever put on. Hands down, probably the warmest camouflage I've ever put on. But it's just a simple fact of, like, is that what kills deer?
No.
It's not. So, I don't know. And it's like you said, it's stripping it down, just getting back to the basics, And,
yep.
And the fact that I chased specific deer the last 4 years of my life and, like, completely stressed myself out every season until I made it happen and blah, blah, like, it's just nice to kind of step back. And I'm not going to say I lost my passion, because I didn't really lose my passion, but it's just kind of like, I just need a nice break and kind of something to bring me back to what all started it,
Yeah, I totally can understand that. There's, times where I feel like a lot of people put a lot of pressure on them to kill a deer or a group of deer, and then it becomes a little bit more tense. And, even as the season wears on for Garrett and I, and, it's just like, man, we put in all this time, and then we're like, if we're sitting there at the end of November and it's like, well, luckily we still have the late season, which is one of our favorite times to hunt, but it is stressful just knowing that you put in all that time and effort, and I feel like, that's something I need to get better at myself, is just, enjoying the ride, like you said, and remembering, why I enjoy hunting. For me, it's that solitude. I really like being unplugged with my work. I'm always plugged in, and I'm always being accounted on at my day job as a school teacher. There's not, a minute out of my day where there's not a one of 180 kids ask me a question, or a colleague emailing me, or having to reply or something like that. And it's nice for me to just leave my phone in my truck. And I love doing that. I've been doing that for years and years, and I just like unplugging and being out there and hanging out with Garrett. So I totally understand that. But getting back to the mentality and the mental aspect, I totally agree with you. Like you said, Sitka doesn't kill deer. Equipment doesn't kill deer. I mean, it helps. There are better equipment than other pieces of equipment. I totally think that you and I believe that 100% and would agree on that. I feel like the mindset of the hunter that kills the deer, and it's the brain, it's the matter between the ears of a whitetail hunter that I think ultimately is what kills deer every year. It's not the gear.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess for me, in a sense of what's kind of taking me back is, like, that moment when you shot your first deer whenever you was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, that meant so much to you. Well, like, that's why I started down this path that I'm even on right now. And it's like, I've chased that feeling my entire life. That's why I pick out one single deer and I chase that one single deer. Even if a bigger deer walks in, I'll pass it. Just because I'm after that one single deer, because it's just like that excitement. You're always craving that. And then, like, kind of going trad is kind of like that. Like, it's kind of like a whole new start to something that I fell in love with whenever I was a kid. And that's kind of what it is for me. I'm actually making a film about it. I put out the thing the other day, but it just, I don't know, man. You just kind of got to. Sometimes it pays to step away from all the chaos and just enjoy hunting.
Yep, that's exactly the reason I love hunting right there. Especially as I've become an adult, it's such a breath air to go out and hunt and be disconnected from everything. You've got, with the effects of the modern cell phone on society, people can't go down the street 20 seconds without getting a text, a notification, an email, something like that their phone, and it's really nice and enjoyable to just disconnect and totally unplug for me. And I really like what you said about just kind of wiping the slate clean. Yeah, you're still hunting whitetails, but you're doing so in a way that brings you new passion and gives you new energy for chasing them. And I think that is awesome, because I feel like a lot of people, like you said, that they do get burned out on chasing the same deer, or, chasing the deer, a group of deer, and they put so much pressure on themselves that even it just becomes not fun after a while. And I liked what you said about that. Kind of going on the mental aspect, Cam, what's going to happen? Like, are you mentally prepared this year for if something doesn't go wrong? And what's your mentality if something does go wrong during the season, whether it be you miss a buck, you make a mistake and he wins you, you make a mistake and I hope this doesn't happen, but what if you like wounded a deer? How do you bounce back from that mentally? Because like I said, from all the things that, I've heard and listened to you talk about and all the videos that you put out on social media, you seem like a person that's just really rock solid with their mentality. So how are you going to deal with that if that happens this season?
I'm fully prepared to miss a couple deer. I truly feel like I will miss deer.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be hunting with one if I wasn't confident enough that I could kill it. But you can't control what happens. I guess with trad, I don't know what's going to happen. I've never shot at a deer.
Sure. Yeah.
It could be complete chaos. But I've done everything on my end to prepare myself. I'm not, and I mean, I'm not going to get too hung up on if I mess up a certain deer, because in my home state, I went public this year. I still have all my private, but I just decided I wanted to go public just for the talent base, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I got tons of deer to chase in both states. So if I mess up on one, as long as he's not wounded, I mean, obviously if I hit a deer and can't find him, I'll do everything in my power to find him. But if I just flat out miss a deer or whatever, I mean, I'll just move on. This year I'm not too hung up. I just have a goal of 4-year-old 140 plus in both states. So if I can pull that off with a trad bow my very first year, I'll be more than pleased.
Absolutely. And I think you're going to do it.
I'm going to be hunting off the ground probably 90% of the time.
God, that's awesome. That's the way Matt and Jesse do it occasionally, and they've killed, I think, 6 deer off the ground over the course of like the last 5 years, and a couple of them have been right at the 170 mark or above the 170 mark, and I definitely think it's doable, especially with you. I mean, you don't have to be bashful to me. I mean, I watch your videos, and that's one thing that I do like about video. It's like it's proof, and I think you're ready. Like from the outside window looking in, I think that you can shoot a trad bow arguably better than a lot of people that I know can shoot a compound bow at 20, 25, and 30 yards. So for me, I think that you're ready, man. So what are your goals for the season, other than obviously you said a 140 4-year-old in both states? Are there any goals that you have beyond that? As it comes to like your journey down the traditional route?
Yeah, I'm going to fill every doe tag I can.
What kind of number are you looking at this year? How many do you want to shoot?
So I can kill 4 does between the 2 states. So I have, and I'm supposed to go to 2 other states and hunt, but it just depends on my schedule basically, because my busy season is deer season. So
yeah, right.
If I can kill 6, I mean, hell, dude, if I can shoot 2 bucks and 2 does, I'll be more than pleased. And who knows? I mean, I might get caught up in the moment and just plug a 130-inch deer.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
When I feel like with trad, it's kind of one of those things. Like if I'm hunting on the ground and say I'm on public, and a 135 walks in front of me and he's a good solid deer, chances are I probably will take that shot.
Sure.
But that's just for me, man. I want to get the experience in. But so back home, this is my first year back home that I really don't have a target deer because I went public. And I mean, I got a bunch of big deer on camera that I would love to shoot, but I'm not getting hung up on them obviously because it's public. But here, where I got hunts, I have a deer picked out. Like I said, I'm going after him Saturday, and hopefully, man. I mean, it's hopefully I don't mess it up because I really, really want it. But
I don't think you're gonna mess it up. I think you're gonna be rock solid, dude.
I hope, man. I hope. I mean, I'm fairly confident, but I'm trying to stay humble to it, I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I'm for sure killing him, and then I just go out there and flank it,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm trying to just trying to keep my mind clear, not convince myself he's dead before he's dead, which kind of sounds like the opposite of what you need to do, but I don't want to go into it too confident. Which I think is a thing. I think you need to be confident enough to where you can draw that bow and shoot it, and the arrow is going to hit where you want it to, but you don't want to be like, oh, this is about to be easy,
Yeah, I agree. You got to ride that fine line between I still have to hunt my ass off to pull this off, but you're not already picking out the spot on your wall for where you're going to hang them. You got to ride that line between confident and cocky, and I feel like swagger's good, but when it becomes cocky, then that's when people really, really start hating you. At least that's my opinion. I don't like cocky people, but confidence when it comes to deer hunting, I feel like does kill deer.
Well, according to most of these dudes, I am cocky, so I don't know.
Well,
apparently I post too much to Facebook, but here's the thing, man. My business is chasing deer. I'm going to post deer I find.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your job, to market your business, and you're intelligently using the biggest tool that you have, i.e. monster whitetail deer. If there is one thing that deer hunters love looking at, it is a trail camera pictures of big deer. So I don't fault you at all for showcasing some of the deer that you and your clients can come. Garrett and I talk about this, off and on every once in a while, and I just think it's lots of people that are, like to talk shit about you behind your back or whatever. It's purely jealousy, and it's too bad that that's the way that that hunting, especially bow hunting, has become. But I tell you what, man, there's nothing more jealous than a bow hunter after the deer that he was chasing gets killed by somebody else. I feel like lots of people like to say things to write people off, and you can take my word to the bank. There's probably going to be one or two people down there at your home state, even if you bang 2 big ass deer off the ground with your recurve this year on public, in your ghillie suit, that they're going to just say, "Oh, just Cam got lucky." But
yeah, well, Stan Pop said it best one time. He said, "Let people talk shit because the wall never lies." So
yep.
what you got on the wall, I mean, if you can back up what you're saying, then nobody really can even say anything to you. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. Yep.
But there is a lot of guys who run their mouth and can't back it up, or there's guys out there that shoot one good deer and become superstars. But
yeah. Yep.
It is what it is, man. Like, that's kind of why I just took a step back, and just kind of do my own thing and enjoying hunting again, and just, I don't know. It's I feel like that's something, the tradition of hunting is not being taught no more.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day. I don't know if you feel the same way, Cam, but I feel like basically what it was saying was you've got these generations of hunters, right? For Illinois, lots of people don't know this, but you couldn't kill deer, up until like 50 or 60 years ago. Illinois didn't have a regulated hunting season. So those people that have been hunting their quote unquote whole life, with 30 or 40 years in, maybe 50 or 60 years in, if they started right at the beginning, those people in that generation, like the old time woodsmen, I guess, those people are kind of dying out, and people like your and I's age are coming into the picture. And I was listening to a podcast that basically said that, these younger generation people, ages 40 and sometimes below, a middle-aged guy are losing some of the skills of being a woodsman. And I myself, I mean, how do you think about that? I kind of agree with that statement.
Yeah,
What's your thoughts?
Well, see, so we're in an era now where like a bunch of guys just start hunting in their early 20s because their buddies are hunting, or vice versa, or so we kind of have that going on. But also, I just think some people just for generations weren't taught how to be woodsmen. I grew up squirrel hunting, and like I remember when I was with my grandpa squirrel hunting, if I stepped on a branch, I was catching knuckles every time. And
Yeah.
he was just teaching me everything while I was out in the woods. Like, show me deer signs, show me, or he would stop and be like, oh, you hear that? There's a squirrel over there cutting, or, and just like small wooden stuff like that. So luckily I grew up around a bunch of old school hunters that basically started hunting around that time when you were first allowed to start deer hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And they were true woodsmen, they didn't have all these gadgets or shooting 70 yards at their compound. Like if they wanted to kill something, they had to get up close and personal, and not saying they were shooting giants back then, but they were killing deer,
Yeah.
And that's just that, man. And just the whole tradition of it. Like it's become such a contest, it's such a, like once you shoot 2 or 3 good deer, like you're just expected to do that every single time. And if you go shoot a 120, people's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that." Like, why?
Right. Yeah.
Like obviously he had fun doing it. So why can't you believe it?
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of what's missing. Nowadays it's a competition, all these whitetail competitions and all this and that. But just go out and hunt, man. Like I chase big mature deer because I like chasing big mature deer. I like the whole chess match. Me versus him, 1-on-1. Not me versus five bucks. Me versus him. And I've liked that. Now it's very stressful. Like I said, this year I've kind of taken a break from it, but I do like that. But also I'm not really taking a break from it because I outfit. I got to do that with 50 to 60 deer a year.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not really. I'm just kind of taking a break from it for myself. I'm still out there doing it. I'm at like 310 cameras now.
Good Lord. I don't know how you keep all of them straight. Garrett and I have about 25 or 30 of them, and man, sometimes we'll forget about where they are and things like that. So I cannot imagine having 300 and something cameras hanging out in the woods, dude.
Yeah, and that's just for guiding hunts. I mean, I've got more than, we probably got close, I don't even know. I'd have to sit down and count. It's more than 25 or 30 just on public.
Good Lord.
But,
do you have anybody that helps you? Like, do you have an internship? Does somebody co-own Wicked Obsession with you, or are you the one-man show?
So so me and my buddy own it, but he lives in South Carolina. So and he works at a plant, so he can't really come up a lot. So I pretty much run a lot of it. He comes up every 2 weeks probably and helps for 4 or 5 days and really puts in the work and helps. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, and then on public, I got my buddy Cody, who I put out videos with. Me and him do the whole public thing, and I actually leased land to him, and he's going after a probably 145-inch velvet buck next week. So hopefully we can crush both them and get them on film.
God, that'd be awesome. You'll have to make sure you tag me when you do get one. I want to watch that. I would. It's something that every Illinois and Iowan, I bet, is so jealous of you guys down there for. I mean, being able to truly be able to get on a nice buck in velvet, it'll be something we'll never be able to do.
You're pulling about 400 ticks off of you. It's like 105 degrees. You're covered in chiggers. It's not the most fun hunt.
Right? Yeah. One of my buddies, Mike Lemansky, Harvest Time Outdoors. Mike, he killed a deer and it was almost 100 degrees out last year when he killed him. And like, at least for Garrett and I, when it hits October 1st, if it's in that weather that's like above 80, where it's like, yep, we're gonna be sweating bullets walking in, and it's gonna be hot the whole time. We've been learning to just kind of, okay, we've got about 2 or 3 good little tracts of land here, and we're gonna lay off of them and kind of step back and push in when the getting's good, quote unquote, and when the time's right.
Yep.
But what's one thing I've been waiting to ask you this question the whole time, because obviously you're a damn successful whitetail hunter. You're a very good shot with your recurve, which leads me to believe that you were an incredible shot with your compound. But what do you believe, Cam, is something that people commonly overlook or underrate, underestimate, etc., when hunting whitetails?
Your mental strength, for sure. You can shoot. You can be the best archer at the archery shop. You can have the best gear you can buy. You can scout as much as you want and find as many big deer as you want. And it all comes down to that 4 seconds before you actually kill him. If you have what it takes. Knowledge is everywhere, but nobody can give you experience. And that's the biggest thing with me is when I was younger, when I saw a big deer, it would tear me apart. And it just naturally, as time went on, I got more and more comfortable around them. But I was also forcing myself by every time I shoot my bow, I was actually visualizing the shots. I would pick out a specific buck, and I would just visualize him every time I shoot and get comfortable with the idea of shooting him. As far as what people overlook is you have to mentally be ready. I shot a 190-inch deer, and then last year I shot a 170-inch deer. That 170 tore me up more when he was walking in than that 190-inch deer. But
Man.
It was one of the moments where, it was just such a build-up, and, I was guiding hunts all fall. Every time I was putting somebody else in a stand, my cell camera was going off, and he was standing there, and I'm like, you got to be shit. Yeah. And I shot him on January 3rd in the pouring rain. I sat there for 6 hours in the pouring rain. It was 53 degrees on January 3rd. And I shot him.
Dude, that's an awesome story, man. And that totally pays testament to what we were talking about. I was hoping, man, that you were going to tell me it was your mental edge, because I feel like you're right. You touched on it a little bit. There's the guys at the archery shop that are just incredible marksmen. They can tack drive. They could put a 3-inch group with a rifle at 500 yards, and they could group a slug gun incredibly well at 200, and at 70 yards they could touch arrows. And then you've got the other guys, on the opposite end that are not as good as shots, but that are just gear nuts and know their gear well and can get up a tree really quick. And I feel like you said, it's the mental aspect, and it's the mental battle, in one's own head that's killing the big deer every year. And I feel like that's something that can't be bought. Like you said, it's experience, man. Kudos to you for saying that.
It's something that you just become comfortable with. I mean, some guys can be comfortable with it the very first time that they see a giant deer. I mean, as much as I love deer hunting, as much as I want to sound like, I've just been a natural born killer, it's not the way it was when I was younger. I got tore up, But I think it's because I loved it so much and I was so passionate about it. Yeah,
you're putting all that pressure on yourself, like we've been talking about. Yeah,
and it's just I don't know, man. If I had to say one thing, it's that. You just got to be mentally ready for that moment. You can do it, like I said, you can do everything right, but if your mind isn't right in that moment, it's not going to happen.
Well said, dude. Well said. You ready for some Would You Rathers? Always at the end of a standard show, I give you about 4 or 5 questions, and they're just really fast questions, but I'm interested to see how you're going to answer these. You ready to rock?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, your first question. Would you rather guide a hunter to killing a 200-inch deer, Cam, or kill a 175 yourself with a recurve?
Well, I kind of have a messed up way of looking at that. If one of my clients shoots a 200-inch deer, technically I killed it and he just shot it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's a good point.
I would much rather see somebody like that, enjoy it, and I mean, and plus, that would just be a pretty amazing moment to watch on somebody else's face,
Yeah. Okay. How about number 2? Would you rather kill an elk We're talking a big bull, once in a lifetime bull, with your compound or your fourth biggest whitetail ever, which, if you've killed a 190 incher and you've got a 170 incher, I'm guessing what would your fourth biggest buck be? In the upper 160s probably then, or the mid 160s?
Nah, it would my fourth largest probably be in the 150s.
Okay, so would you rather kill an elk with a compound or your fourth biggest whitetail this year with your recurve?
I'd rather shoot a 130 whitetail than shoot any elk.
Really?
Yeah, I don't care about hunting elk.
Okay, you're probably one of the first person that I've ever heard say that, dude. Man, that's Garrett's dream animal right there. And Matt's went out elk hunting, and man, you didn't even blink at that one. Okay, fair enough. This is kind of a tough one. Would you rather, and we're talking this year again with your recurve, I kind of geared all of these towards recurves and guiding just because of what you do. But would you rather eat tag soup this year or shoot a buck with a compound? What do you think about that one? That one's tough.
My name's on the line, and I said I was going full trad, so I'd rather eat the tag soup.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, way to be a man of your word on that one then, Cam.
For sure.
Would you rather only guide, so you never hunt again for yourself, or never guide again and only hunt for yourself? What do you think?
Oh, your boy's hunting.
I thought for a second that you were going to hit me with guide because last week we got an opportunity to talk with Shane Jones, who does the same thing that you do. He does outfitted hunts, and he's a guide for Sandy Hills, and they kill huge mule deer and big elk, big antelope every single year. They're very consistent out there, and they're in Colorado. And Shane was saying, over the course of somebody's life, they may kill 30, 40, 50 big game animals if they're lucky. That's a lot. And I mean a lot. Like, can you imagine a wall full of 50 deer heads? That's a ton of bucks. But right. The way he was saying it was, with a guide living through that lens, you get that experience, 40, 50, 60 times per year. And you get to have that experience. So I didn't know if you were going to go that route, but I'm glad you said hunt yourself.
I notice a lot of outfitters they end up not hunting anymore. But I mean, man, that's I don't ever see that happening with me. I mean, I don't ever see myself not hunting whitetail. Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
All right. Well, that kind of brings me to the end of my list here. Anything you want the listeners to know about you? Maybe shout out one more time where they can find you, because if you guys are listening and you want to watch somebody that's super entertaining, and posts a lot of huge whitetails, you guys should all be following Cam. He's been my favorite person to follow as of late, especially on Facebook. So where can they find you at, Cam? On Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that?
Yeah, look up my name, Cameran Derefield, on Instagram, on Facebook. Wicked Obsession Outfitters on Instagram. Wicked Obsession page on Instagram. That's like all of us filming. It's just me and Cody. We film all of our hunt, our public land, how we go about setting up public land, our cameras, and how we kind of break down public, some private land stuff. Hopefully here real soon. I'm about to drop my October buck I shot last year. I'm about to drop that video here within the next 2 or 3 days.
Awesome. I'll be watching that.
We got two velvet bucks to put out here in the next couple weeks.
Man, that would be so cool. So, anything else? Last minute words of wisdom from Cameran Derefield before you guys get off here, leading up into the season?
Just hunt your hunt, man. Don't worry about nobody else. Don't get too stressed out, because at the end of the day, as long as you're doing what you love, and you're not you're in perfect health and everything like that, you might as well just be happy, man. Just don't get caught up on too much of the quote unquote bullshit.
I agree with you. Well said, man. I'll again, thank you for taking the time and carving out your day. I know you're busier than hell, and I really appreciate you coming on here, talking to me about your mental attitude, your plans for the season, and a little bit about your journey down the trad road. So thank you again, Cam, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Bye. What a great guy. I feel like you said, or like he said, and we've been kind of echoing, you guys need to be following him if you're on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that, just because he's got a really good attitude about, not letting things get to him, being mentally strong. And I really like following him myself. So if you guys want to hop in there, then, go and find him on Instagram. I think you'll enjoy following along with him too. And I think he shares a lot of beliefs that the people that are listening to this Huntcast share as well. So now that we're kind of done with that, get into a little bit of more businessy stuff. Discount codes. So we've got a bunch of discount codes from some of the companies that we work with, and those are available on the Inner Circle. So that's our Facebook group. So if you guys would like to join our Facebook group, just search Last Breath Inner Circle. That's the group that Garrett made, and we've been rocking that group for about 10 months now, and that's one of my favorite groups. It's a kind of just a bunch of people that are becoming friends with us and, kind of like shooting the shit about whitetails, and we have a lot of fun with that group, and it's my favorite group to be a part of. And thanks for listening if you're in the Inner Circle. I really like seeing what you guys are up to on a daily basis and some of the things you're doing. And thank you again for your support at the end of the day. So in that group, we have a 25% off code for Badlands gear, anything site-wide. We have a 20% off of anything site-wide from Code Blue Scents, as well as free shipping with that, and 35% off of all outdoor edge gear site-wide. With Code Blue, we're going to be ordering some Gravedigger pretty soon and get our scrapes firing up. And that's kind of the big news with our discount codes. But the biggest news of the podcast. So today is Labor Day, and on Saturday, September 12th, so 5 days from now, we are releasing our first episode from our newest season. That's going to be part 1 of our Antelope episode, in which Garrett, Jesse, Jeff, Logan, and Jeff's older brother Chris went out to Sandy Hills and hunted with Shane, Tanner, Jeremy, and all those guys out there and bagged some amazing antelope. So there's 2 kills in that episode. It's about 9 minutes long, so you're going to want to catch that. And that's coming out again on Saturday, September 12th. And we will be releasing a new episode every single Saturday all the way through deer season. But again, that's starting in 5 days on September the 12th. Every Thursday in 2020, we're releasing a Throwback Thursday episode on our YouTube channel. So we've saved all of our biggest deer for whitetail season to kind of get everybody pumped up and to kind of release those with the season. So if you guys haven't seen some of our best hunts, they're coming right down the pipeline every Thursday during deer season and for the rest of 2020. Our cool thing that we're doing is every Wednesday, we're going to do something we've never done before. And if you're in the Inner Circle and you're a follower of ours on YouTube, then you've already seen us doing that. And every Wednesday, we're releasing a new video of what we did that following or that week before. So when we killed deer this year, we'll be able to show you guys the week after when Garrett and Jeff go out. And if they get a chance to kill an elk, you'll be able to watch that. And those are live every Wednesday evening. And finally, on Sundays, I know we got a lot of stuff here rolling out on the fall during the fall, but every Sunday we have a new Moultrie image autopsy. So that's where we take a look at a single buck and we show the trail camera data behind his harvest. So we kind of dive into time and date, temperature, scrapes, how to set your cameras on video mode, how to pattern a deer based on time and date stamp, everything like that have led us to killing 13 deer that are all pretty nice. That episode is new, fresh every Sunday on our YouTube channel. And again, that's called Moultrie's Image Autopsy. So that's it for us here today at the Huntcast. And I want to thank you guys for listening and supporting what we are trying to do over here. So we'll see you next week. Don't waste it.